Hello guys, I am back with another episode. There is a message that was forwarded to me by one of our admins. I never thought even for a day that there are other people that do listen to our episodes, even from behind bars. How they managed to do so, I don't even understand. But this person sent us this email, and they were saying that they were sending that email from behind bars. The message reads like this: "Hello, how are you? Please share my own story. We always listen to your channel a lot. I am writing to you from a maximum prison where I am being detained, and we spend hours and hours listening, and we always play back and we listen to your confessions that you do post on your platform. Let me say that you are doing a very good job, and I was very much inspired to write my own story to you. The reason that I am writing a story to you is to warn other people to stay away from this thing that is called lust, because when you engage in one sin, it is like a landslide. One sin will lead you to another, and that one leads to another. Before you know, you'll be in big trouble. And now that I have converted, I am now a Christian, I can see that indeed the devil is a way of expressing you. In the end, you can never ever root for the devil. You can never do anything thinking that you are clever, because now everything that happened to me, I can see that I thought that I was clever. When I was still out there, a lot of people, they were afraid where I was working. Even people were afraid to say anything if I had done anything wrong, because I was someone who was always angry, and I used to fight a lot. Here is my story. I am a man with a wife and children, and my brother passed away. When my brother passed away, he was involved in a road accident, and he died in a very painful way. I felt for his wife. She was very young and she was beautiful. She was left with my brother's son. We buried my brother, and this was in a village from where we come from in Zambia. I had to be there for my brother's wife, but in the process of trying to cover up the space that my brother had left, I started to have other thoughts. The day that I had other thoughts was when I had gone to her place trying to give her some groceries. This was on this other Christmas holiday after I had traveled from South Africa. At that time, I was working in South Africa. So each and every year, I used to go back home so that Christmas I can be with my family. Since I had not seen her around in the village, I then decided to carry some groceries so that I can personally give her those groceries. As for my wife, when I had asked her the previous night to go and give my late brother's wife the groceries that I had put aside for her, I saw that in her eyes there was this disapproval. She didn't want me to keep on helping that woman, but I really felt sorry. The way that my brother had died, it was really painful. My brother was a truck driver. The company that he was working for, he was being paid according to the loads that he was delivering. So he was being overworked. Even a few days before his death, he called me. And when he called me, I noticed and I felt that even over the phone, he sounded so depressed. The only thing that he just said, "I am really tired. I am tired. I need rest. But how can I rest when God has given me this very big family?" My brother, since he was the eldest, he was like the father in our family. He was taking care of anyone, and he could not rest because he wanted everyone to succeed in our family. Even for me, the place where I was working, it was because of my brother. He knew that guy that I was working for. He had once worked for that guy. So when that guy was looking for someone to assist him in his workshop, my brother then asked him if he was willing to employ me. At that time, I was still in Zambia. That is how I got myself to South Africa. But when I arrived in South Africa, maybe because of the fast life, I found myself forgetting everything. Then I started taking in a lot of alcohol just like my father did. My father was someone who was really violent whenever he would take alcohol. That is the reason why I had promised my mother that I will never take any alcohol in my life. But when I arrived in South Africa, everything was just nice. I just wanted to enjoy once in my life. So I started drinking beer a lot. Even on the day when my brother had an accident, I was drunk. He tried to call me, but I could not even speak with him on the call. I don't know what he wanted to tell me, but the next morning, that is when I opened my phone and I saw the news that my brother was involved in a very bad accident. A lot of people had died in that accident. And from the way that he had spoken with me, and from the way that the company that he was working for used to operate, I think that he was really tired. And by the time when he caused that accident, he was just sleeping whilst he was driving. That is the reason why I kept on trying to provide whatever I could provide for his wife that he had left behind. I had to be there. On that day when I decided to go with those groceries that I had put aside for her, I found her bathing and I just entered into her yard without even saying anything. I don't know why. I was just silent. When I entered into the kitchen and I saw that there was no one in the kitchen, that is when I thought of just going around to see what was going on. When I was walking around, I then heard that there was someone who was bathing in the bedroom and the window was not properly closed. That is when I started looking at her whilst she was bathing, and I started to lust after her because indeed she was beautiful. And now that I was looking at her without wearing anything, I felt as if electricity had hit my body. I wanted this woman. I went back home, but I couldn't stop thinking of the feelings that I was now feeling for her. When I returned back home, I could not even sleep with my wife because I kept on thinking about my late brother's wife. I had this obsession over my late brother's wife. Her body was really beautiful. I was now comparing her to my wife. So whenever my wife would try to touch me, I would be so violent towards her. All that I wanted was to be with my late brother's wife. I was now in love with my late brother's wife. Even the first day that I entered into her bedroom, I waited as I was just hiding in the bushes for everyone to fall asleep. I had lied to my wife that I was going to drink some beer, but this was not the case. Whilst I was hiding in the bushes, that is when I saw another man entering into her bedroom. I was really angry at her. Jealousy and anger had overtaken me and I had lost control. I waited for that man to go back to his place. I could not see who it was because it was now in the evening. I waited until that man had gone. After that, I went and I knocked on her door. When she heard that it was me, she opened up the door because she was surprised. I immediately entered into her bedroom. Then I asked her. In fact, I told her everything that I had seen. She was really scared. Then she begged me not to have me chased away from the village. I then told her everything that I wanted her to do for me. She then agreed because she was afraid. I slept with her on that night. After that, she told me that she was no longer seeing that man. That is how me and my late brother's wife started to see each other. I even lost my job back in South Africa because when my boss called me, this was somewhere in February, when I kept on postponing. I was supposed to be back in South Africa somewhere around 5 January so that we can start working again. But I kept on giving him a lot of excuses until he told me that if I do not come back, he was going to hire another one. But I didn't care. All that I wanted was to be with this woman. Then suddenly, one day, when I had gone to be with her, my wife knocked on the door because she had been looking for me. That is when I heard my wife's voice. She was standing outside. but she had not seen me, so I had to hide myself underneath the bed. She came into the bedroom, then they spoke, and my wife, from the way that she was speaking, she was suspecting that I was in love with another woman in the village, but she didn't suspect that on that same bed where she was sitting on, that was the same bed which I was sleeping with the woman that she was telling all of her problems. When my wife went, that is when I decided that I had to end all of these things that I was doing. Suddenly, I started to worry about my wife. What if my wife was going to discover about this affair? I was going to lose anything. I didn't want it to be an impact on our marriage. I came up with a plan that I am still even ashamed to speak about. I came with a plan to murder that woman. In my mind at that time, I told myself that if I murdered her, then no one would ever know. Then my problems would have disappeared. And I wanted to fix her because I still had a grudge with her. I didn't feel okay with her bringing another man into that same house that my own brother had worked so hard so that he can build. And I kept on thinking that it meant that all the time that my brother was busy hard working in South Africa, it meant that his wife was busy love making with that man. I was so obsessed with that idea until one day I went to her house and I told her that we were supposed to meet by the river in the night to go to take someone that I had left there. With a look of love in her eyes, she agreed and we went when the evening came. As we drew closer to the river, I pretended as if I wanted to urinate so that she can walk slightly in front of me. That is when I picked up a stone. Then I started to follow her. When I got the opportunity, that is when I hit her right on top of the ear and she fell down. I then finished her off with that stone which I threw into the river. I also threw her body into the river, and when I looked at her body, I thought that I had completed my mission because her body had drowned into the river. I did not know that once a body have drowned into the river, it will rise up again on top of the water. This is what happened, and it was my stupidity because the very following morning, she was just found whilst her body was on top of the river. I was the last person who was seen walking around with my late brother's wife, and at that moment when I picked up that stone, I was not thinking properly. I don't know if it was anger, jealousy, or maybe I was possessed maybe by the devil. I don't know where I got all of those guts to pick up the stone so that I can just finish up a young life like that. I have no rest each and every day in my life. I keep on asking for forgiveness from God, but this sin, it keeps on replaying in my eyes. I just want to send a warning to people who are out there. If you kill someone, do not think that a human being is like a chicken that you can kill and forget, because sometimes I can just wake up in the middle of the night and I will fail to fall asleep because it will be like I will feel her presence right next to me. I am even afraid to be alone in the dark because whenever I will be alone in the dark, it seems as if inside the darkness there will be another spirit that will be waiting to attack me. Now that I am locked up in prison, I have gotten used to this lifestyle of being in prison because you can think for 2 straight hours. You keep on asking yourself, if you had not taken that person's life that you killed, what were they going to do in the future? You keep on blaming yourself. Yes, I have given my life to God, but still deep down in my heart, there is this guilt that I can't even wash away. No matter how hard I have tried to pray to God for him to forgive me, but deep down in my heart, I keep on thinking about this single act that ruined my life forever. As for my wife, she never even came to visit me when I was arrested. The time that I got arrested, my wife had gone out into the fields, so the police just came and took me. I never even got the opportunity to speak with my wife. I thought that maybe I was going to see her on the day that I went to court, but she was not there. Only my son was there. But my wife, she was not there. After I had been sentenced, I kept on giving myself hope that my wife, she was going to visit me, but she never visited me. The reason why I was so desperate for my wife to visit me, I just wanted to apologize to her. Dear listeners, right there was a message that I received. It was forwarded to me by one of our admins. Strange things do happen. If you have any story that you want to share with us, do not hesitate to contact us via our email address.